Let me start by talking about our theory of everything, right? This progression of economic values, the basis of the book, The Experience Economy, and it is an economic theory of everything. It explains everything that is going on in the economy. And I'll start at the beginning, because in the beginning were commodities. Commodities are the things that you grow out of the ground, pull out of the ground, or raise in the ground, animal, mineral, vegetable. And then you extract them out of the ground and sell them on the open marketplace. Commodities are the basis of the agrarian economy that lasted for millennia. But then thanks to the Industrial Revolution, we're able to move to an industrial economy based off of goods. People moved out of farms and into factories where they make tangible things out of those commodities that come off the farm and out of the ground. Right? Tangible things, those are the goods that are basis of the industrial economy. And if you go back 100 years ago, over 40% of the people at that time were actually making things with their hands. And you go back 200 years ago, over 90% of the people were pulling things out of the ground, were in farming. But today, around the world, less than 20% of the people make manufactured goods in developed economies. In the US, it's down to less than 10%. And it's down to less than 5% of the people that make commodities. Right? So where have all these people gone? Where they've gone into services. We moved out of factories and into offices, into retail, into hotels, into hospitals, into distribution, transportation, into service jobs. We use goods as the raw material to deliver a set of intangible activities on behalf of an individual person. That's what a service is. And today we're in a service economy where 80% of gross domestic product is in services. Over 80% of employment is in services. And over 80% of what customers want is, in fact, the service, not the good. What happens in the service economy is that goods become commoditized. Commoditized meaning they're treated like a commodity, where people don't care who makes them, they don't care about the brand, they don't care about the features, because it's all pretty much the same anyway. They care about three things and three things only: price, price, and price. Right? That's when goods have been commoditized. And in fact, the internet is the greatest force of commoditization ever invented. The frictionless marketplace means that customers can instantly compare prices from one vendor to another, and it tends to push them down to the lowest possible price. But what we see increasingly is that services are being commoditized as well. Long-distance telephone service sold on price, price, price. Fast food restaurants with all their value pricing. And the internet can even commoditize services. If you look at financial services, what used to cost several hundred US dollars to buy or sell a block of shares with a full-service financial broker can now cost as low as $3 with an internet-based broker. And what that fundamentally means is that goods and services are no longer enough. Goods and services are everywhere becoming mere commodities. So it's time to move to a new level of economic value. It's time to go beyond the goods and services to staging experiences for your customers. Now, the most important thing to understand here is, if you remember nothing else from what we talk about this afternoon, remember this: that experiences are a distinct economic offering, as distinct from services as services are from goods. It's basically when you use goods as props and services as a stage to engage each and every person in an inherently personal way, and thereby create a memory, which is the hallmark of the experience. So we're now shifting into an experience economy, an economy where experiences are becoming the predominant economic offering. Now, if I had more time this afternoon, I'd probably go through a litany of different experiences. So you could see this happening as consumers through tourism experiences, sporting experiences, entertainment experiences, festivals, and so on and so forth, right? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about one basic experience as a way to leap into thinking about it for business to business. I understand most of you are working business to business companies, and this very much applies to that environment as it does to consumers. But the one experience let me talk about very briefly is, of course, Disney World. Right? You think about Disney. Disney is the world's premier experience stager. And you know that because you're paying an admission fee, and that's key to an economic experience, is you're paying for time. You pay an admission fee to get in there, where you have all of these rides, you have experiences that you go through. Now, and you go there for that shared family experience that you have. Disney still sells a lot of goods and services. I mean, you go there, you buy Mickey Mouse ears, Mickey Mouse watches, and so forth. Right? You buy those goods as memorabilia for the experience. They have services there. You'll buy parking services, food services, photographic services. Right? But why do people go? What generates demand for those goods and services is, in fact, that experience that they have, that shared family experience that they remember not just for days and weeks, but for months and for years afterward. Now, if you think about in business to business, think about a trade show. And I just, pulled this one up off of the internet because I figured there might be some people here going to this particular trade show later this year. But you think about a trade show, it's just the business to business equivalent of going to Disney World. Right? Think about it. You're going into this big space where you pay an admission fee to get in. There's all these different attractions that are trying to capture your attention and get you to come and spend time with them. You walk away with all this memorabilia of the experience that you have there, right? So we see that experiences apply as much to business environments as they do to consumer environments. You can see that across many different enterprises. Whirlpool, the appliance manufacturer, decided to stop going to trade shows, actually, and they created their own experience for their distributors and retailers called the World of Whirlpool. This is on the Chicago River in downtown Chicago, where they engage people, not just for the 10 or 15 minutes they would get them at a trade show, but in fact for hours and sometimes for days, where they can in fact show off all their appliances with cooking demonstrations, washing demonstrations, and so forth. Get them to actually experience these goods before they then sell them to their particular consumers. You see it also in my favorite examples of this is Case Construction, right? They make huge, big construction equipment. And what they did is they created an experience center, the Tomahawk Experience Center in Wisconsin, to bring their customers up, expose them to these products. It's basically a huge sandbox where they get to try out all the bulldozers, the front loaders, the earth movers, and that. They have rodeos and contests, who can move the most amount of dirt in the shortest amount of time. And they did a study and found that a normal customer goes up to one of their dealers. They have perhaps a 20% chance of getting their business. They bring them up to the Tomahawk Experience Center, goes up to 80%. Right, from 20% to 80% because of the experience that they create. Autodesk, the software maker, actually created the Autodesk Gallery in San Francisco, where they create a museum experience to show off all of the ways that their customers use their products. So you have engines there from aircraft manufacturers, a Mustang from Ford. James Cameron used Autodesk software to create Avatar, and they've got a whole Avatar experience so you can see how he's able to do that. Right? They're exposing all their potential customers to all the great things that their current customers are doing, generating demand for their software. And their competitor, Dassault Systems out of France, has in fact created a 3D experience platform. They've taken all of the software that they have had together, and they've given it and put it together into a platform that enables their customers to create three-dimensional experiences for their end consumers, right? Including a social innovation platform that enables open innovation and allows them to connect to their customers and bring innovations into their own enterprises. So we see this going on more and more into business to business because we have shifted to an experience economy. And this is where new jobs are going to come from in the future, is through experiences. This is where growth in GDP is going to come from in the future, is from experiences as goods and services commoditize. It's not that they're ever going to go away, right? We'll always have each of these economic offerings, right? Including the great oil that you found in the North Sea at the commodity level, right? Generates a lot of income in that, but it's not going to generate as many jobs as population growth will be. The jobs are increasingly going to come in the higher level offerings, such as with experiences. Right? That's where innovation needs to happen. I happened to be in Milan about 10 years ago and had a boardroom presentation with a number of companies there. And one was from the manufacturer of the coffee company, Maxwell House. And the vice president there said something that amazed me. He said, there's been no innovation in the coffee industry in 15 years. And I said, are you kidding me? Have you never heard of Starbucks? Right? Because for him, innovation was in goods. He had blinders on. All he thought about was innovation in coffee goods and totally missed the innovation in the coffee drinking experience that Starbucks created. The irony, of course, being Howard Schultz was inspired by coffee houses in Milan to be able to come back to the U.S., create that great coffee drinking experience, and increasingly export it around the world. And if you think about coffee, it perfectly exemplifies this progression that I'm talking about. I mean, you can look at any industry and see its progression of economic value. But coffee is very key because, coffee at its core is beans, right? It's a commodity. In fact, look up the future price of coffee in the financial newspaper every morning. And if you convert it from a per ton to a per cup basis, do you know how much coffee costs per cup when you treat it as a commodity? Right? It's a fraction of a krona. Right? It's about 1/5 of a krona. That's how much coffee costs per cup as a commodity. But if you take those beans, you grind them, roast them, package them, put them on a grocery store shelf somewhere, right now you can get a krona or less per cup of coffee. But if you then perform the service of brewing it for a customer in a vending machine, a kiosk, a service establishment somewhere, now you can pay 20, 25 krona per cup of coffee. But if you surround the brewing of that coffee with the ambiance and theater of an experiential coffee shop, now how much are you paying? Right? 40, 50, sometimes 60 krona per cup of coffee. Right? And the same thing whether at Starbucks. Right? They've created a coffee drinking experience there that goes far beyond the level of just getting the basic cup of coffee made for you. Of course, Starbucks doesn't hold the record for a cup of coffee. I had an opportunity a couple years ago to take my wife to Venice. And there, of course, we went to the Piazza San Marco, and we enjoyed a cup of coffee at the Cafe Florian. And we soaked in all of the sights and sounds that most old world of Italian cities. And then I got the bill. You know how much the coffee cost at the Cafe Florian? Right? Plain old Cafe Americano, 13.5 euros. 13.5 euros, right? Was it worth it? Assolutamente. Right? Absolutely it was worth it. If you create an experience, your customers are going to be willing to pay for that experience. And you'll be able to charge a premium for it. Now this, in fact, is my standard order at Starbucks. I actually never drink coffee. Right? I'm a tea drinker. And what I do is I order a venti, non-fat, no water, 6-pump chai, extra hot. Right? That's my order. And every one of those things is a level of customization that Starbucks does for me. And in fact, all of those are customer innovations. Right? Starbucks practices open innovation, and it's customers that told them they wanted it hotter than normal, that they wanted to add an extra pump of chai, make it stronger than normal, right? Take out the water, add more milk, and so forth. And I learned each of those things just by listening to the people in front of me in line. Right? I didn't know any of that was possible. It's a secret menu that they have that their customers are asking for. And that level of customization is, in fact, core to this progression of economic value and how I discovered it. As Ava mentioned, my first book was called Mass Customization. Mass customization is about giving everybody exactly what they want, but doing it at a price they're willing to pay. And mass customization enables you to efficiently serve customers uniquely. And mass customization automatically turns a good into a service. If you look at the classic economic distinctions, goods are standardized, services are customized. They're done just for a particular person. Goods are inventoried after production, but services are delivered on demand when the customer says this is what they want. And goods are tangible and services intangible. Well, part and parcel of mass customization is the intangible service of helping customers figure out what it is that they want. So if you customize a good, you're actually in the service business of giving them exactly the good that they've defined, right? And once they've defined it, then manufacturing it for them. In the same way, if you customize a service, if you design a service that is so appropriate for this particular person, exactly the service that they need at this moment in time, then you can't help but make them go, wow, and turn into a memorable event.